And you can either, do you want to watch yourselves on the screen, or would you like me to turn this off until we need to?
Yeah. I'd rather
There
not.
you go. This one will stay on, but this one will be off until you do your presentation.
You are amazing, Melanie.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I need to pass it. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Usually you get this. Yeah, you can. Okay. So, as in the 3, 1, 2. So what are you trying to do?
Enough to switch back, so I'm all set.
We're not necessarily do
No,
that.
I just,
And then we'll do the website.
No, not that. We did not vote.
3, 1, 2, 3, 17. And then the next, and then get that.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to call to order? All right. It is 6:06, and I will call the January meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. I'll just note that 7 trustees are present. Trustees Arlene Way and Lynette Robinson are absent. And so let's move on to public comments. Is there any public comments online or in person?
There was a comment received, but it was actually for Channel Albany, so we are redirecting it accordingly.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda? There are no questions. We can entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Trustee Dallas makes the motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Trustee Pryor. All in favor of approving the consent agenda? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. So we'll move on to finance. Adam and John?
The reports this month cover November 2022, which is 42% of the way through our fiscal year. The treasurer's reports now include a column showing the modified budget that was approved in the last board meeting. And at the end of November, our recommended expenditures totals were 40% of our total modified budget. So those are that.
Okay, thank you, Sean. So, you know, may notice on the reports, payroll costs are trending under budget, but they are expected to increase for the last 6 months of the fiscal year due to the recently approved contract extension as well as increased health insurance costs. Utilities continue to be a concern about the modification, and hopefully it prevent that line from going to budget. If anyone has any questions on any of the reports, be happy to deal with this. Thank you.
We made the grants and construction grants line, we got $5,000 in that line this month, even though we had 0 in the modified budget. Were we expecting that? I'm looking at the treasurer's report.
So that is actually a grant for a program that took place. Devesh Chandra, program now. There was a $5,000 grant that we had previously received. We hadn't actually expensed the program until just this past month. So that was what it was.
Okay. Thanks. Any other questions for Adam and Sean? Thank you. We will move on to agenda item 5.
Sorry,
Oh, sure, go for it.
big fees, looks like we raised it from 6 to 15.
Yes, that is one of the items that we adjusted during the modification. The bank fees line represents not only bank fees, but also credit card fees. And we've been having some issues with credit card fees this past year related to PCI compliance fees. We have that sorted out currently. So this 15,000 budget, you won't see that in next year's budget, I don't think. But unfortunately, we were paying some additional fees this year related to this compliance issue. And so that was why we revised
Thank you.
Okay. So now we will move on to trustees report out. Did anybody attend any events that they want to share? Last night?
No, I did, on Sunday, I mean, people, I did, and it was comforting to know that 2 branches were open, Bach and Harbor Hill, and had 1, so it's aligned with what I needed to do. Well, I was just curious on how it was determined, because I was actually surprised that Washington Avenue branch wasn't open on Sunday instead of the other 2. So, that was really surprising, but again, to help my needs, and everybody was very accommodating and nice. And, I came here today to just outstanding service to everyone. It's just very, you know, when you come in, it's just very inviting, and like, hello, goodbye, and very nice.
One explanation for why it's Arbor Hill and not Washington on Sunday has to do with the size of Arbor Hill and the service area. So given that Arbor Hill is a central service area branch, and it's easier to staff on a Sunday, I believe that's the reason that location was the chosen location for Sunday.
Anybody else? All right. And normally we would move on to our Upper Hudson report. Arlene is out today, so we'll hear from her next month. And then next is our overview of upcoming committee meetings. So if you're chair of a committee and you think you have a meeting, if you think your committee is going to meet before our next meeting, which is pretty soon, it's February 7th, is our next full board meeting. Now is the time to share that and keep us all apprised.
Just put it out today, so January 21st is that, touch base with other colleagues in the committee to see what they were available. So I have it out for tentatively January 26th. That's the 26th.
Awesome. That's facilities, right?
26th, yeah.
So it's not my committee, but I'm the only one here for nominating. We are planning on meeting next week, I think, on the 18th,
Awesome.
and we'll be meeting here.
In this room, right?
I actually don't know. I hear meeting.
Okay.
Small auditorium.
Thanks. Sarah Dallas.
Audit and finance? No, never mind. But we are going to be meeting twice in the very near future, and I think I announced it in the last board meeting in weeks.
Yeah, so I think those dates, just to remind everybody, are
The 2nd of February is the first.
I see a Monday the 23rd.
yeah, Monday the 23rd, Sarah.
Monday the 23rd at 6.
Okay. Okay, the first one is on the 23rd, and the second one is on February. I should have got it my first instinct. Thursday the 2nd.
Perfect. Okay, thanks very much. So I think now we can move on to our director report.
Okay, that came up more quickly than usual. Happy New Year, everybody. First of all, in person, Happy New Year. I want to start off with just a statement about my first 100 days at APL. It's been that many business days, and I've spoken with a lot of folks and learned a lot about the system and how it's perceived from the outside and from the inside. And the comments that I want to share from my report are that, in general, the issues that have come up kind of mirror what we learned through the strategic plan, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis. Our brand is very strong from a community point of view. The community has really positive things to say about our programming and our services. And if anything, there's, as we learned through the strategic plan, a desire for more of everything, more hours and programs and digital content and collections for that matter. But what I have seen is that there is a major disconnect between those external perceptions and the internal perceptions and realities that we're dealing with within APL. So even though we maintain a lot of professionalism and do a great job of customer service and promoting library services and activities to the community, we are at the same time struggling with some real challenges on the inside. And that was one of the drivers of the staff engagement survey, in addition to the workforce development goal of the strategic plan. So when we kind of finalized that strategic plan, really one of the things I was most excited to do was to push out the staff engagement survey, which I'll talk about in the next item. So I think that if we bear in mind that tapping into that community support will really help us build greater capacity to support our 7 branches and fulfill all of our strategic plan goals and our vision, we will be well served by that. It has been great getting to know board members, and I still have a few to schedule because we had some rescheduling to do from the holidays. So I'll reach out and make sure that those get on the calendar. But it's been great getting to know you one-on-one. And then also during December, I also had the opportunity to tour our makerspace here at APL with Nolan. He is the librarian who mainly oversees the makerspace hours on Tuesdays each week, and that was really eye-opening. And a lot of our makerspace use comes from homeschoolers and in some ways parents who bring their kids after school. Excuse me. Boy, it's easy to lose my place in this paragraph. I had a couple of meetings with staff who have been facing challenges with respect to the civil service process. Challenges which you are very well aware of. Delays in test scoring have kind of thrown off the integrity of the Canvas lists. And so some of them are in this protracted limbo where they have taken a test. It's been over 90 days since they've taken the test, which is the time period during which tests are usually scored, but there are all kinds of delays. So that's resulting in these Canvas lists that do not reflect the most recent testing that's been done. So it's something that we're taking up with civil service, actually taking it up on the state level because the city doesn't score the tests. So I know I've alluded to that in the past, but I did have these meetings with staff and I wanted to let you know that those happened because it's really important for me to understand the staff perspective on that as well. Let's see, let's talk more about the survey later. I met with Alyssa Kane about the new Neighborhood Connections City Department and how we can support one another. That was a really positive meeting. They have a lot of, they're working on a lot of infrastructure for that department, and I believe they're still finishing up their hiring process as well. But that is going to be a walk-in service for folks, anybody who wants to stop in to their bricks and mortar office can stop in and ask about a city service. So in some ways we parallel each other. I met with Gloria Vicente, who is the provider relations specialist of the community hospice. They are wanting to make sure that more communities of color receive information about hospice services and what they can do for families. So she gave me some information to distribute to the branches and hopes to hold an information session sometime in the new year. Gave a welcome introduction to nonprofit leaders at Serve Albany Brunch. That was really cool. It was a bunch of folks specifically concerned with pregnancy and supporting new mothers and all of the services that are available in Albany for family support and babies. So that was fun to talk about our Growing Readers program and connect with them. And I also attended the South End Grocery grand opening on the 27th and met Trayvon Jackson, as well as a few other community leaders, some elected officials. So that was a nice opportunity and a really positive event. It's very hard to find parking that day. And finally, I met with Lex and the next 2A fellowship application round. We didn't get any applicants, unfortunately, for the most recent semester. So the next round will be the next round of applications will be accepted from mid-January to March, and we're going to broaden the opportunity to include distance learners and other MLIS candidates beyond. Oh, actually, that should read soon. Anyway, so with that said, I would move on to operations. Again, keeping pressure on the civil service hiring process. We're meeting with Tatiana, one of the people in charge of the city civil service process over at the Office of Administrative Services. So that's a good relationship that we'll be building. And we completed quarterly budget meetings with supervisors within the library in preparation for the first finance committee meeting. We're still seeing some growth and rebound from before the pandemic. So happy to say that door counts are now more than double what they were in 2021, but we also are seeing 20% growth from 2021 in our circulation. So that's good news, and we're continuing to see print circulation steadily rise. So any questions about, and then of course there are all of the wonderful program highlights below for each branch, and a lot of detail on our Human Resources Department activities. Yes, Sarah?
So you had a little bit ago talked about civil service and talking to employees who are feeling frustrated that it's been over 90 days for their exam to be graded. With the hiring of positions, are you holding on to positions to wait to give the internal staff a chance?
We can't. We have to fill them as soon as we can because we need the staff. So we are having to pass over staff who have taken the test, who want to be here. In fact, we lost someone because she was serving as a temp in the children's room here, and she had taken the test to become an LA full-time, or either a full-time LA or a full-time L1 as her MLS, and she waited the 90 days. She waited past the 90 days, and she couldn't wait anymore because she needed a full-time job. So she went out and got one somewhere else. But if we had been able to see her get on the list before, we would have been able to scoop her up because she loved it here. So, I have my growing list of people who are back to APL. She's now one of them. But this is a real problem. And I'm working with CSEA leadership within APL to potentially take some steps to put some pressure on the state civil service department to speed up the testing process, because it's going to be best heard from the union. I also had those meetings because I want staff to know that we care. I mean, they want to be here. They want to work here. We care about that, about them wanting to work here. So I want them to know that it's not that we are ignoring their desire to be part of our team. So that's another reason why it's important to me to talk to staff about what they're facing, what they're hearing. And it's also a mystery to me. I don't know how to navigate I didn't have to navigate the civil service process to get this position. So I need to know how it looks on the employee side.
And I'll just add, it's just, I mean, I think that you have staff shortages are pervasive, and with them being short-staffed as well, it just holds up the process of hiring. So I think that's great for CSEA to try to advocate. I think that helps. They hire. They grade the one. There's nothing to do with it. Unless it's a small list. If it's a small list, then you can work through it and hire someone that's a good team, the library assistant.
Library assistant, L1, librarian 1.
It's I think you have a lot of people on that list, right?
Well, no, we could have a lot of people on that list if the tests were actually being scored in a timely manner.
You weren't, so the person that you ultimately hired did come from the list?
Yes.
Oh.
But, I mean, yeah. It's not as robust as it could be, because we have a lot of positions to fill. Sarah?
There's a new chair of the library assembly committee, and she's really brilliant. Would it be helpful to meet with her and Pat?
I mean, I'll meet with anyone to help this process in some way, shape, or form. And I'm still, I still have lots to learn. So any learning opportunity, any chance to.
I was just saying, go ahead and meet with people, but it's not like they're purposefully holding you up. it's really
Right.
lack of staff to score the exams. That's really what it is. And you have to think, they give these exams in 66 counties. So these are state exams given in 66 counties, and we just happen to be a small microcosm. So these are exams run by the state, and it's unfortunate. And once they give it, so that where you could put pressure on them is for the city to be able to have the leeway to certify the scores throughout the month instead of just at the monthly meeting. Because so if they meet at the end, they meet the last Wednesday or Monday or whatever of the month, you get the scores from civil service. They've already had their meeting. You've got to wait a whole nother 30 days.
So certifying scores on a rolling basis, that would be the thing to.
That would really be really good, ask Tatiana if they're doing that. I don't know if they're doing that or not.
Okay.
If they can certify the scores, if the commission can give her as secretary of the commission the power to certify those scores on a rolling basis, that would definitely help.
Okay. Thank you for the language for that
Mhm.
and that suggestion.
So you think they could do that just for like our positions?
They can do it for any, so they wouldn't change it just for the library, they would certify scores on a rolling basis
Okay.
for anyone that comes under their jurisdiction. So it would be anyone, so for the Albany Municipal Civil Service Commission, it's more than just the city of Albany, it's the housing authority, it's the library, it's the school district. So it will be anyone that falls under any appointing authority under their jurisdiction.
Thank you, and let us know how we can, continue to help with any civil service issues as they come up. Any other questions from the director's report?
Just wanted to say they're very clear, and I enjoy reading them. And thank you for the depth of information that you shared.
Welcome.
Great. So then would you like to talk to us about staff engagement survey?
I really would, yes.
Talk with us.
Melanie is going to help put it up on the slightly large screen. Not the big screen, that's the one downstairs. So there will be times when I have to just like kind of read from my screen, so because you won't be able to read everything up there, it'll be too small. You can also follow along, of course, on board docs. What am I saying? Everyone has a screen in front of them. Everything up there. Sorry.
I love it. I love it.
Little slow on the uptake there.
Right here.
Yeah.
I can't see that far.
So for the folks listening in at home or wherever you are, you can navigate to the library's website and find under trustees. You can find the agenda and everything you need to see on board docs, which is available on our website. Okay. Thank you, Melanie, for sitting up there, ready to advance the screen. Your arm is going to get sore. So I want to preface this by just articulating that the underpinning of this this survey is tied to our workforce goal of growing people and careers within the strategic plan. I realized that the strategic plan was formally adopted just a month ago, but I could not wait to get this survey out because we learned some in the focus groups. As you'll recall, there were staff focus groups conducted during the strategic plan process, but those staff focus groups were only attended by handfuls, relatively speaking, of staff. So given that we are so spread out and we have over 100 employees, at any given time. Not everyone could obviously make those focus groups. So we learned some some rumblings, some ideas of what staff were concerned with in those focus groups. But to really get a sense of whether those sentiments were shared broadly, I wanted this staff engagement survey to tell us that. So the third objective, or yes, it is an objective. The third objective under the workforce goal is to develop a process to evaluate staff engagement and job satisfaction to improve retention. So that is why this was launched. I worked with the Human Resources Director, Kristen Connors, to design the survey. She gave me questions from sources that she had as an HR professional. So that kind of tells you about where I got the questions. I used the Paylocity software that we pay for to conduct the survey because they have an anonymous and open survey function that allows staff, anybody with a link through any internet connection could fill it out. I distributed it through the all staff email list. So, the all staff email list goes to part-time and full-time staff of APL. So it went out essentially to 109 staff members because that was the staffing level during the survey window. We got 80 responses, which is an overwhelming level of response for a survey of this kind, with as many questions and open-ended questions as there are here, which tells us that there were a lot of people who had something to say. And we'll start with the first question. How do you feel about work these days in general? The most frequent sentiments, well, first of all, the chart shows us that there were a good portion of neutral folks. There were about even positive and negative on either side. So the most frequent sentiments is kind of what I drew from the comments. There were 35 comments received from the 80 responses to this question. So a decent proportion added comments, and of those comments, the methodology I used, every comment was unique, but as in, written uniquely by the unique person filling out the survey, but I used a spreadsheet like side by side basically and created themes in the spreadsheet that I then ticked off with each survey response. So that was how I approached it. This took me way longer than I ever imagined it would. I am not a statistician. I am a librarian and a library professional and an information professional. However, coming up with kind of the methodology for crunching all of this, it was an exciting challenge. Let's put it that way. So the most frequent sentiments that we heard: fear and worry over incidents and potential for incidents in the branches, overwhelm resulting from day-to-day staffing emergencies, turnover and changes in staffing, and lack of opportunity to do varied library work, including long-term planning. We'll see some of these themes come up throughout the staff engagement survey. Sometimes people repeated what they felt strongly about, which is not surprising. There was also specific concern about the work environment here at Washington Avenue. Here we see a high demand for social services, and there is a toll of incident-related stress that happens with staff. Number 2 and number 3 are connected, as we will see sort of throughout the survey, because our staff on the front lines are on desk almost all the time. They don't have any off-desk time to kind of regroup and process anything that happens to them, positive, negative, that happens on desk, and also have time for programming and collection development related work. So that's kind of a running theme. Can we go to the next slide? And I'll move faster, I promise, because there are 15 questions. Do you enjoy working with your specific team at APL? This is an amazingly positive response. This should give us all a lot of reason to hope, because this shows us that there's an immense amount of gratitude for colleagues and teams here at APL, that even though there's concern about all of the issues I just mentioned, there's a high level of enjoyment in working with the teams that people work with. There is this desire, again, as number 3 states, for more off-desk time to work on programs and collections, and outreach for that matter. Okay, next slide. Are you proud to work at APL? Again, an overwhelmingly positive response, which is great to see. Lots of commitment to public service and doing the best we can with the resources we have, and a feeling that we are providing a very important service to the city of Albany. Again, thin coverage is a source of concern. Number 3, there is a sense of embarrassment and inadequacy when it comes to helping patrons use our print, scan, and copy system, which I don't know if any of you have tried to use that in the branches, but it is not intuitive. And staff spend a lot of time intervening with patrons who just want to make a copy. It should be very simple and easy to just make a copy, but it is not with our current system. So we are looking at ways that we can pivot to a system that is simpler to use already. Next slide. Do you find your work at APL meaningful? Again, really great to see this positive yes and often response from the majority of survey takers. Libraries, there is an agreement. Libraries are important in society. The work is often rewarding. Again, we see this theme of due to being on desk all the time, there isn't, or almost all the time, there isn't enough time for other library work. Number 3, thin staffing and great demand for social services take away from the sense of doing meaningful library work and cause stress. Even though the social service work is work that we know is important, it's hard to do that kind of work for 7 hours a day or 6 hours in a day. And that's what we're kind of asking of a lot of our full-time staff members. Number 5, does your work challenge you and aid in your development? Fantastic, overwhelming, yes. Next slide. And there were, by the way, no comment fields for some of these questions, which is why I added that note. Number 6, do others provide you with recognition? Here, we have room for improvement, for sure. But in general, the sentiment was that coworkers and supervisors are appreciative of the work that people are doing, and that recognition would be even more meaningful in the form of a better staffing model, longevity-related perks, and better salaries. And so those comments should not surprise. Number 7, does your current compensation meet your needs? And here we do see a pretty clear demonstration that most people do not feel that it meets their needs. And again, 33% do, but clearly we have a difference here. Number 8, do you feel like your immediate supervisor is invested in your success? This is great news. Clearly we have a culture from the top down of heads of branches encouraging and supporting branch staff, and branch managers supporting their staff. So this is a really great thing to see reflected. Number 9, does APL's culture foster a comfortable, supportive work environment? Again, the answer is overwhelmingly yes, 68%. We have no way of knowing what the other proportion is about, but again, this was a question that didn't have a comments field. And if I had a comments field for every single question, it would have taken another month to, no, probably not a month, but it would have taken longer to compile the results. I knew it was going to be a lot to compile in the first place. Are APL's managers and leaders invested in improving APL's culture? Again, we have an overwhelming positive response there with an unidentifiable sort of other category. Number 11, would you recommend APL as an employer? This is looking pretty good. 69% say yes. Again, we have a proportion of folks who would say other, but given the feedback from some of the other questions, I know we can't totally construe, but you can somewhat safely guess that if certain things were changed about APL that have already been referenced in the survey, then it might be a yes. Number 12, do you see yourself working here in a year? Most people said yes, but a lot of people said maybe too. 30% said maybe, so that's not great. The next slide is kind of even more of a little bit of a wake-up call. Have you recently thought about leaving APL? 53%, a little over half, said yes. So that's worrisome. Now we get into the really good stuff. Number 14, what practices do we need to change? So these are the most commonly occurring comments in order of frequency. We have number 1, improved security and safety training, practices and resources for all staff at all locations, and especially for our community engagement clerks. I want to pause here and, well, actually, I'll talk about number 2, and then I'll talk about how these are connected. So number 2 is recalibrated and increased staffing levels in the branches to support safety, off-desk time for programming, professional development opportunities, and incident recovery, we'll call it. So the connection between 1 and 2 is that because we don't have the staffing levels that allow for capacity, we don't have proper time to train new staff and to support staff in ongoing training. The librarian 3s are on desk a lot of the time because of schedule holds. So our highest paid librarians who do frontline service are actually filling holes on our public service desks for a lot of their week. This is not a good recipe for expansion and growth in the outreach category, in the supporting staff better category. There are all kinds of reasons that we need to look at that, because I don't want my highest paid librarians to be spending all of their time and expertise kind of sitting on a public service desk, helping people make copies and so forth. So it goes to more than that. That's just putting it sort of bluntly in the terms that I often see things in. But number 3, better compensation plans for all levels of staff and longevity pay and other incentives for long-term employment. So there is a sense of, like, we've been working here for 20 years, you know, what do we get for it? We're at the top of our you know, grade, steps, so forth. What is out there for me as a long-serving employee of APL? So that's an interesting thing to think about as we move into improving our reward system, really. Number 4, more training for new staff so they feel prepared for day 1 on a public service desk. So because of the staffing crisis that we're in, and I know it's a sort of dramatic to call it a crisis, but I am seeing it that way. It's a protracted crisis, and it's not one that I recognized on day 1 of my time here. But because we are so eager to fill the schedule holes that come up on a daily basis, we're actually putting staff who are just starting, like, right on desk and having them train kind of on the job, because we don't have time to put them with an L3 to shadow or to you know, spend a whole day just kind of observing or what have you. We need to actually put them on desk to make the library run the way that the way that people expect it to run. So that's obviously a problem, and one that we would like to address. Number 5, user-friendly public print copy and scanning tools. Again, that comes up quite a bit. So those are the top 5 categories. There were other comments that we will certainly be using to inform some of our some of the low-hanging fruit that we can change right away, but also as we go forward, I'll be drawing on the information that I learned in this survey, the raw data. I told staff, incidentally, before they filled this survey out, that none of their comments would be taken verbatim, that I would be summarizing kind of like what happened in the strategic plan. And that was a way to encourage response, because obviously, you know, nobody cares to see their anonymous survey response lifted verbatim and put in front of people on the chance that, you know, they'll be recognizable or something. So I did that to reassure staff and to help them understand how we would use this information. Number 15, how can we improve your engagement at work? The most commonly occurring comments here: competitive wages, increased staffing to allow for time for training, cross-training, professional development, staff meetings, special projects, committee work, and interdepartmental work. I like focusing on this one because it shows that, like, our staff they're not just complaining about not having enough off-desk time. They're actually articulating what they would do if they did have off-desk time. You know, like, if they did have off-desk time, there would be opportunities to experience some professional development that would maybe help them do a better job on desk or off desk or in their work. There would be time for them to participate in committee work. We do have a lot of internal committees, or some internal committees. We've consolidated a lot of them because of the staffing pressures. But it's nice to see that there is this sort of like, if we had this, this is what we would do. Number 3, mental health and wellness care for all staff. There were, like some folks expressed concern about the fact that if you are not a benefited employee, you don't necessarily have access to free mental health care. And so looking at ways that we can better support staff on all levels and on all levels of, whether people have benefits or not, what resources can we provide in order to support staff in their work? And for, again, just safety concerns came up in this category. And there are only 4 because those were the 4 topmost themes. All the other comments were kind of disparate in different categories, so I did not incorporate them. But again, they'll be important to informing decisions. And finally, number 16, is there anything else? And this was a real grab bag. Is there anything else you would like to share that's important to your experience as an APL employee? So the 2 top ones that showed up again are safety concerns that need to be addressed and the desire to grow and advance within the organization and see it succeed, which is a really positive and wonderful thing to see. A selection of the other comments, and I basically picked these because they were a little bit more unique and hadn't shown up before in the survey results per se. But transparency and in decision making on the admin level, which we can certainly work on immediately. Better team challenges and team building on staff development day. There was a sense that after the pandemic, we have so many new staff all the time that nobody gets each other in person much. So using staff development day as an opportunity to do some team building, do some of those nice challenges that bring people together was a prompt. Clearer pathways for promotion, and this is where our communication about the civil service process, be it what it is, like we can do a better job of showing staff like the pathway from becoming a clerk to becoming an LA, for example, from becoming a library assistant to becoming a librarian 1. It may not be particularly easy or clear for all, but we can make it clearer than it is now. Because right now, staff kind of ask each other how civil service works. They ask HR, they ask, they don't necessarily know who to ask. And so we don't have a good system of transmitting that information in a way that's motivating and inspiring for staff who want to continue on an APL, but maybe in a different role, maybe in a role with more responsibilities, with more pay, et cetera. Another prompt was hire a local history librarian, which I would love to do. Consider a pay differential for staff at high incident branches. This was another just kind of idea that was thrown out there. Find more ways to celebrate unique branch identities. So that kind of goes to collections and programming both. So these are just kind of, and then finally continue the monthly all staff meetings. So that's a good thing. That shows us we're doing something right there. But yeah, I'm really motivated by the results of this survey. Even though there's a lot to do, there's a lot of work to do. This is a staff that's motivated to succeed. This is a staff that wants to see APL be what it really can be. And I think that we can get it there over time. So I offer this information in preparation for the discussions that we're going to be having on the finance committee level, on the board level eventually in February, because as is obvious, some of these pressures that we are experiencing as an organization will only be solved with increased staffing, which means that we need to look at increasing our budget. And that is where I will end it. But I certainly would love any questions or comments.
Thank you. Great, I saw that presentation. As you said, there was a lot of growth, but also, honesty, within the staff. But basically, the basic feedback is that they gave APL and the pockets of them. But with that said, I noticed today too when I was here that you had a great program, the coffee hour, and that the movies, the carrot to get people in, but community providers will be here, such as housing and mental health. And, which is the problem with mental health and homeless. So those are two great, community providers. You know, that's on a week. Did that just start in January, or have you?
No, I believe that is not new.
That was, prior to the pandemic, it was something that we did regularly with our community services and support specialists, and we brought it back about 3 months ago.
Okay, so do you have, space so that maybe you can have that, like if you could partner with Albany County to see if you could have a mental health person, board maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, or, you know, 4 times a month, whatever, so that person would be there, so maybe that might alleviate some people at the desk, that they could divert that person to that mental health specialist, or even housing has have a room here, you know, space, rent out space, I don't know, not rent.
We
but
do, no, we
partner.
do have PADIS here every week, and that is new as well.
Right.
So to your point, I mean, community partnerships are one way that we can absolutely start to address some of these issues immediately. It's just that this model is not sustainable. And actually, I mean, we're seeing it play out on the state, like, look at Kathy Hochul, look at Governor Hochul's proposal, budget proposal that just was announced today about, what was it, $1 billion for mental health care in this state. I mean, this is not, you know, this is a problem that's playing out in Albany, but it's everywhere. And so the social emotional difficulties that stem from the pandemic among children, among adults, all of it is coming to us, and we are.
I need to do something now, like, I mean, not like a Band-Aid, but something that the staff will see that, yes, this survey did not fall on deaf ears. We're taking our mental health or our well-being into play, and they are trying to do something. Who knows, it could be sustainable. I know at the housing authority, that's one of the things that we're doing at the resource center, that we're trying to bring in. We're not trying to create the wheel, we're trying to bring in all the community partners in the area to be able to, mental health, AIDS, employment, all those resources, that maybe it's a one-stop shop, that they can just come here, you know, in that one building and get all their needs met.
That sounds amazing. I would love to get there. And I misspoke. I didn't mean that the model of having those partnerships was not sustainable. I meant that the staffing model that has resulted in some of these pressures is not sustainable. But yes, we're actively pursuing not only those partnerships, but we're also, and we had conversations about the next staff development day immediately after we learned, you know, and staff development day will also be a great day to use to do some training on what safety resources are available. We're also going to be focused in the safety committee, which is the committee that consists of 3 management staff and 3 union staff, focused on resources for staff that will support better referrals to social services organizations, and just help new staff have a place to go to find that information when they're on desk. Like, okay, they can go to the staff portal, they can see, here's who I can call in this instance. Sarah?
2 things. Is there an employee assistance program for the people who don't have health insurance?
Not that I know of.
No. Ours covers a set number of employees, I believe. We get so many hours, so it's a per use basis. But it's generally a referral program, so they will do like a 15-minute kind of triage appointment with individuals, and then send them on to somebody that's usually would require benefits. So they recommend them.
The second thing is, it would be helpful to know, Brigitte, you said you were surprised that this building is closed, but it's 3 floors with lots of staircases. It'd be interesting to know what you would feel is a safe number of people working during the day as we develop the budget.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of internal conversations about levels at any given time. I mean, the general the general perception is that 2 people is okay for like opening a branch, but that you need that 3rd person eventually to relieve the 2 people and to allow for lunchtime to happen.
But I'm also thinking of Pine Hills.
Mhm.
That is a building that there's no clear vision
Yeah,
on the 2nd floor or the 1st floor.
Yeah.
It's just.
no, the 2-person model, I'm sorry, I should have added that was the example that we used relative to Bach, for example, or Arbor Hill potentially as well. But the bigger the more multi-level the branch, obviously, the starting team has to be that much bigger. But what I've asked the heads of branches to do is look at what would be ideal, what would be a good staffing model, a good schedule model for the branches to support on-desk time, off-desk time. The other thing that could potentially be unlocked with that greater amount of off-desk time for the branch manager, because right now the branch managers, the L2s at the branches, they are on desk all the time too. So we can't ask them to manage the branch effectively when it comes to doing evaluations, when it comes to doing training, when it comes to virtually any other number of management-related tasks. They don't have the time. So one of the things that we need to look at is unlocking the time of the L2 so that they can do more on the management side, and then we can divert some of the other management energy on divert some of the other, yes, to the strategic plan objectives of community engagement, outreach, having an outreach and programs department where we can maybe assign a couple of LAs to that department, send them out into the community to do tabling, to do more of those things that we always want to be participating in and meeting people where they are. We just don't have the people to send out all the time. We often have to say no. Not only that, when there is a program at certain branches and someone calls out, we often have to cancel the program because there isn't anyone to cover the program. And I'm getting the numbers on how many programs we've had to cancel for that reason, but that's another kind of wake up call for me, because I was unaware of that of the fact that we were kind of okay with that. Like, I'm not okay with canceling programs if we can help it. Anyway.
Well, we're a team and we'll figure this out together.
I'm excited. I mean, as you know, it's going to be daunting and there will be some tough questions that we have to figure out. But at the same time, look at this team. I mean, we have a team that wants to succeed. A lot of positive energy amid the stress. And I think we can be great.
One other thing for mental health care and wellness for all staff. I know of another organization that has like just a counselor that staff can call, and I think like the organization pays for it, so it doesn't matter whether you have insurance or not, and it's just like you can meet with them on Zoom or whatever. And
You can give it to me later.
yeah, I can get it to you later. It's like a mental health counselor.
Okay.
But that might be an easily accessible way to improve that.
Absolutely. Excellent. We'll be building a sort of wellness section of the portal to collect all of these resources. But again, staff need time to use them as well. So, thank you so much. And I know, it's a lot to take in, but it's really, I appreciate your attention and I appreciate your care.
Staff development, did you close? I remember at one point the old branches were closed for staff development. So if that's so, then of course safety and all that good stuff. But I'm like thinking just fun things like maybe a masseuse or because that's what we do. 15 minutes, you get 15 minutes, you do the chair, and someone comes and take out the kinks or whatever, or yoga, chair yoga, or something like that, which could be online, it could be, the guardians, or the guardians are just thinking something other than, what you have to deal with, something other than that's gonna take your mind off, or,
I think that's a great idea for a pause in the day.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
We can't have it all be.
Yeah, if it's a retreat, like a staff development retreat,
Mm.
you get the frustration out, maybe never boxer.
Hey, open to all ideas, open to all ideas.
It kind of just going off the staff development day thing, when it happens, would it be possible for someone, and probably Tom, because he's president, but someone from the board to just go say a couple of words of how much we, as the board, appreciate the work that the staff do? Because we come here and we do our call outs of, I went to the library and it was great, and, or, a couple months ago, I was like, I came in and they were just so nice to this person who really needed the bathroom. And, it sticks with me of like how well that person was treated. And, I said it here, but that doesn't go back to the staff that we as the board are seeing them as exemplary. And, I think we're in a position to say something.
Tonight, you'll see it.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. And I think there might be an opportunity for even, like, maybe we could do like a video reel or something that we can show, before the staff. I don't know. That's another idea. Like little snippets of you all saying whatever you want to say.
Well, it's like, I'll see something on the Instagram, it's like, so-and-so's retiring. I'm like, oh, why aren't we like signing a card? Just like even like a small gesture like that. Like, it was somebody who'd been in service for,
Oh, yeah.
is it weird if I was an individual one or just like comment on this post with my personal account? But like, I feel like even just something small like that, and I think it helps us acknowledge like, oh, we had someone like, we're down a staff member, but it's a retirement, and like this is like something that, while sad, is like also celebratory. So just jump on.
I'm sure that would be appreciated.
Appreciation goes a long way.
Do we have appreciation, are there like little comment cards in the branches?
I believe there are, yes. Yes. All of these are good ideas. I think that, the real work will be figuring out exactly how we're going to address the real, the tough ones, as I would put it. But yes, absolutely, there are comment cards. There are opportunities at Staff Development Day for a board voice to demonstrate appreciation.
And is there an employee recognition day or employee recognition ceremony? Or
Actually, that is on Staff Development Day. Yeah, we recognize employees who have served X number of years. It's a certificate. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this within your first 100 days.
Well, it'll be a yearly thing, we might modify the questions somewhat a little bit year to year, but, my hope is that all of these responses will be that much better if we're able to address some of the aspects, or at least, actually, I think the most important thing is just a plan, demonstrating that there is a plan for addressing some of these issues with regard to staffing levels and salary. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we don't have much new business. So I think I made a mistake when I sent out the quarterly board evaluation last week. I don't think you guys got it. I tried to send a Google form and it came to my attention that it didn't go to you. So that was my error. I was thinking maybe, so when I first started on the board, we would do the evaluation printed out. And it got me thinking that maybe it would be better to do it that way. So if you guys have thoughts, let me know, but I thought maybe next month I could just bring the evaluation form and we could all fill it out while we're here in the meeting. Just turn it in and then we won't have to think about it between meetings. That sound okay?
So, obviously, having not completed with these boards, is it like filling in a bubble, or is it like actual handwritten commentary that like there would be like, oh, I want to stay anonymous in this, like?
Yeah, so there's like 9 questions and it's like, usually you just check okay or needs improvement.
Okay.
And then there's a box to leave a comment if you want to. And it is anonymous, like, I guess if someone knew your handwriting potentially.
Yeah, that was the only thing.
But yeah, you don't put your name on it.
I don't know you guys well enough yet to know
Yeah.
your handwriting.
And then once the board turns them in, me, I guess, would collect the answers and then at the next meeting, report what people said. So like, 7 people said needs improvement here or whatever. Yeah, okay, so that will be our plan for that for next month. Which I believe, there's no need for executive session, right? Okay, so that brings us to our second public comment. Has there been any?
No
Okay.
public comment has been received.
Thank you. And so that brings us to adjournment.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Trustee Dallas moves. Is there a second?
A second.
Trustee West, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Fastest meeting ever.
Thank you.
Yes, that was good. So I think we will see each other next on this Saturday, virtually at 9 a.m. for the core training with Upper Hudson.
You'll be sending that as what?
Yes, Upper Hudson will be sending us a link.
Okay, so did I miss the email?
Right, it might have.
The-